Yo, what's up everyone? It's your boy Romero21 here. Just doing this nice author slash book review here for my English class in Hanover High School. So to start off with, if I do make any mistakes, I'm probably going to keep rolling through with it because I'm not too good with technology, so editing is not my forte. So I'll probably just do nice one constant stream here. Try and make no mistakes, but if I do, I'm just going to keep rolling. So that's the idea there. Second thing is that I'm just going to get started. So, my homeboy, Richard Paul Reilly, also known as Rick Reilly, is what his public name is what everybody knows him as. He was born on February 3rd of 1958. He started his career in 1979 after graduating from college, and he started to work for an undergraduate assistant for Daily Camera, which was in Boulder, Colorado. 2 years later, after working, he's like, nah boy, I don't want to be working Daily Camera, I'm going to be a writer. So, in 1981, he became a football writer in Denver, Colorado. He started writing articles based on football games and football practices. Then he was like, nah, I don't want to stay in Colorado anymore. I want to go out to Cali. So, LA Times had offered him a job to work for them, which he, of course, accepted and worked for there for 2 years. Then he was like, no more LA Times. I want to go something bigger, better. So he started working for Sports Illustrated. In 1983, which is where he spent most of his career at, which really got popular, it's where he became famous, it's where he really just had his home, basically. So, he worked for Sports Illustrated for about 23 years before he had left to go to ESPN. But before he had left to go to ESPN, he had done a ton of things for Sports Illustrated. One main thing he'd done was he wrote opinion-pieced stories on the back pages of Sports Illustrated articles. And he had a really popular one, which became famous, which is known as Life of Reilly. And he was signing these opinion-based stories, which was the first time someone had signed their pieces of writing within these articles, which became a big deal. So, the guy's making history now. So, after he had done all these articles and stuff, he decided he didn't want to be on Sports Illustrated anymore. He wanted something new. So, like I said, he got to ESPN. Once he was on ESPN, he started working for SportsCenter. He had his own show called Homecoming, which was basically just interviewing guests from different towns, and Rick would go to these different towns and see the sports events out there, and then just write articles about them. He also went to the Wimbledon tournament, the U.S. Open, the British Open, and he'd come back with essays to bring to SportsCenter, and then he would talk about it on the shows. So after he had done all that sort of stuff, in 2014, he decided he retired from sports writing. But before he had retired, he had wrote a couple books, quite a few books. I read 2 books. Books I read was Who's Your Caddy and Sports from Hell. So now let's start talking about these books and see how good they were compared to his rest. You guys really thought that I'm not that technologically advanced? Oh yeah, I just made that edit. Even though before I said that I was not going to make that edit, I did. Because you know what? I'm a problem solver. I figured it out. So now I know how to edit. So this should go pretty good now. So, the first book that I read was Who's Your Caddy? This book was lighthearted, amusing, kind of a playful style of writing, but also being formal enough where, adults can read it as well as kids, such as my age. So basically what the book was about was how he began his life as a caddy. He used a lot of sarcasm throughout the book, and one example I can really remember is how he's talking about how when he first started caddying, he wanted to choose a smaller tournament where there wasn't a lot of people watching, so he could learn and gain some skills, so then he could join a bigger tournament someday. But he said that naturally he had chosen the Masters, which is one of the most televised golf tournaments around the world, and where there's a ton of fans that come up and show up to these matches where people are really watching every move that these golfers are making along with their caddies. So it was kind of, when I read that, I was like, what the heck? But, it's pretty funny. And good for him, to be honest with you, because since someone was able to hire him as a caddy when he first started, that's pretty good. It's overall pretty good no matter who the golfer is. Being able to caddy for someone who's in the Masters, I give him a ton of credit for that. Also, his writing style, he'd use syntax a lot, which means that his paragraph lengths were different in sizes, and he had some one-worded paragraphs, which had stressed the importance of different words. Like, for example, he had a golfer offer him to be a caddy for this particular golfer, and Reilly had just used a one-word paragraph saying yes, and that is, a very important. It's not just like a normal yes. It's yes that now he's starting his career as being a caddy. So that stressed the importance, and that gets the reader's attention. Also, syntax really breaks up the story, and it makes it more enjoyable to read. Because if you're just reading long paragraphs all the time, it can sometimes get boring, and sometimes you would skip sentences because you're trying to reach the end of a paragraph. So having these different length paragraphs, it really helped me read it. So pretty much that's Who's Your Caddy. He just talked about how he was caddying for these different golfers, and how this experience was, important to him. It helped him learn different skills and stuff. So then he started writing about, how he's caddying and how it lives up to what people think, and like what things you get by being a caddy and what things you don't, and how people are watching you and all that sort of stuff. So overall, I would really recommend reading Who's Your Caddy. I think it was a great book, and overall, definitely read it. Alright, so my final book that I read by Rick Reilly was Sports from Hell. And let me just tell you, this book was probably the weirdest book I have ever laid eyes upon. Ever. It was so strange, but it was amusing to read. And let me tell you why. I want to talk about 3 sports that Reilly talked about during this book. The first one, World Sauna Championship. Now you heard that right. World Sauna Championship. And you may ask, how in the world, I need to go to that pun, could there be a sauna championship? You just sit there. Exactly. But it's how long you can sit there. Now these guys that participate in this event stay in a 261 degree sauna for 10 plus minutes. Their ears start to become flamey and crispy. There's an ambulance nearby because people have fainted, of course. Now let me just tell you, this sport is so weird. But you know what? It's cool. It's funny. I would never participate in it. I think it's pretty interesting. So that was for sport number 1. Sport number 2 is the 3-mile long golf hole. One hole. 3 miles long. New Mexico. Now, this hole would take 5 hours to play. 5 whole hours to play one hole. And on average, for professional golfers there, I guess it's around 19 strokes to do one hole. For that, you're still hitting like a driver on every hole. And you're still taking 19 shots to get there. It's insane. Absolute insanity. Now that is something I would actually do, because that'd be pretty fun. But you must be dead after 3-mile holes. First of all, that'd probably take me about 8 to 9 hours, because I'd be hitting it either a mile to the left, either a mile to the right, and then I'd have to walk even more and become like a 5-mile hole. For these guys, 3 miles hole, 5 hours long, and after they start congratulating each other. It's pretty cool, pretty interesting. That was pretty funny. So that's the second sport. Third sport Reilly talked about, which is, we've all done it, coolest sport, rock, paper, scissors. Now this is a pro sport. Rock, paper, scissors. How you settle your disputes? You never knew that was pro? Well, you know what? There's pros out there. Rock, paper, scissors. Strategy. It's not just luck. There's strategy. Now, I'll teach you a couple of tricks if you want. So, when Reilly had went to talk to people that were professional rock, paper, scissors, I guess, Phil Gordon was one of the people, and he had played a best out of 10 with Reilly in a rock, paper, scissors tournament, and Reilly also had like a 2-win advantage, but then it didn't matter because Phil won 7 out of the 8 next rounds of rock, paper, scissors. And Reilly thought it was always luck. To be honest, I kind of think it's luck, but after reading this, I don't know. There's names, there's different strategies, and I'll teach you a few of the names. So, I have my book out. The Avalanche is 3 rocks in a row. If you want to play the Avalanche, remember that. The Bureaucrat, 3 papers in a row. Paper Dolls is scissors, paper, scissors. That's kind of weird. Pretty funny. The tax cut is paper, paper, scissors. The Bible is 7 straight papers. That's a risky move if you want to do that, but it could work. And the last one is, this one's kind of weird, the guillotine. 7 straight scissors. Ruthless. Absolutely ruthless. But there's names of these strategies. And also in other strategies that Bill Gibson taught Reilly, that most newbie males, which just means most males that I guess aren't professional rock, paper, scissors, which is like mostly everybody, they play rock the most. And it's because they like making a fist, which, you know, sort of makes sense. And if you think about it, every time you face someone that's a male, probably gone rock a lot of the times. So watch out for that next time. I'd say go paper. But yeah, this Phil guy hosts tournaments that are worth $10,000 that you can win. It's just a professional sport, so it's weird. But it's very interesting. And those are 3 sports that this book I learned from. And to be honest, guys, I read this book. This book is very interesting. Many different sports you guys can read for yourselves. If you want to learn about the world's most dumb sports, coolest sports, whatever you want to say, then read Sports from Hell by Rick Reilly. And that's all I got from Ricky. Go read his books. Very interesting dude. Been crazy all over the place. Sports writer. Television. Been on television. Sports Illustrated. ESPN. This guy's done everything. So check him out. Read a couple of his books. You'll like them. Catch you all in the next one.